All right, gloves are off. I'm here to tell my story, exactly like it is from the very beginning, how, you know, difficult things were, I'm building a company and, and so stay with me here as I, work through the discomfort, the uncomfortable part, trying to narrate a story of starting a company, what their journey really is like and what it's been like. No fluff, right? Because I think a lot of the time, a lot of people put up all the, glamorous thing that goes on out there. And the reality is being an entrepreneur is not glamorous in any way, shape, or form. It's hard, it's difficult. You're going through some crazy periods. Like in my entrepreneurship journey, I've been homeless, right? And that's how bad shit can get, right? And so the whole premise here is, I'm going to tell it like it is, show you the, sort of the hidden things that a lot of people, rarely talk about, right? And so with that, I think the best place for me to start is when I first started my true tech company. I think I was, 20 or 21, first true tech company, right? As I was actually still in university, University of Maryland, right? And actually the funny thing is, actually before I dropped out, one of the ideas I was working on actually turned out to be Uber, right? And so it was actually an idea that I had after a trip to Europe, where I saw this thing where they were doing where Europeans have this thing where like a random stranger can go online, find another random stranger going to another part of maybe the country that they're going to, and then just say, hey, look, can I like pay you for gas and let's drive there together, right? So that's something that Europeans do. And I was in Germany and I saw that, I was like, wow, this is so unique, right? And so then I decided that, I wanted to bring something like that to the US, right? And so this was when I was at the University of Maryland. And at the time, when I started doing my research and figuring things out, I learned about this company called Zimride, right? Which actually ended up becoming Lyft, right? And I think they actually started out of Maryland as well. But, I learned about this company, Zimride, that was allowing students to basically similarly talk to each other and be like, hey, can I like maybe just ride with you when you're going back home for spring break, right? That's what Zimride was all about back then, right? And so I started I remember going to the business center. Was it Levi? No, that's I think that's another university there. But I think I went to the business center, just trying to figure out other resources for, starting a company, figuring it out and like, help with research and things of that nature. But shortly after that, that's when I actually started seeing Uber, right? And then very quickly Lyft as well. And so at that point I was like, okay, you know what? That's already done. No need to tackle it, right? So I think that was kind of the very beginning of, the true tech entrepreneurial journey, where I had an inkling, I had a sense that there was a problem to be solved. And then I started making headways to solving that, right? So I think that's a great place to start, and again, stick with me as I, talk about the challenges of building a business, being an entrepreneur. It's really hard. It's not glamorous like most people, tend to make it to be. And, who knows? Like, I just want to share the story. Again, bear with me through the uncomfortable parts, and I think that's probably one of them because I don't know what to say next. But I'm going to try and really share these inside tips or real raw stories of how difficult and how hard it is to try and start something, because it is truly one of the hardest things you can ever do in the world. So, all right, with that, I think we'll stop here and then come back for the next video. Ciao.